The early 1970s in the Troubles. Now, the Troubles going on, again, relations between locals and the British soldiers initially is going to be positive. So as a result of the Battle of the Bogside, we're going to get British soldiers coming into Northern Ireland to really establish some form of stability because the country is on the brink of civil war. Initially, this is going to be seen as positive because, again, it is bringing about peace. Then we're going to get the Falls curfew. The Falls is a neighborhood in West Belfast, a deeply Catholic neighborhood in West Belfast, when the British soldiers were sent to search for weapons in this neighborhood. Now, there's going to be a group of nationalist boys who are going to attack the soldiers. Kind of a little bit of boyhood fever, a little bit of kind of impulsiveness happening as well right through here. But as a result of this, gunfire is going to ensue, and it's going to really be seen as a turning point of the Troubles. The British are no longer seen as neutral. The British are now seen as overtly supporting the loyalist position in Northern Ireland. So the Catholics, the nationalists, really are going to be completely opposed at this point. And there's really kind of no hope of bringing about some form of peaceful solution from the British because the two sides have just kind of moved farther and farther apart, and this is kind of going to be the breaking point. There's going to be sporadic violence between different factions of the IRA and the Ulster Volunteer Force during this time period as well. So it's going to be a little bit kind of more... Yeah, it's just going to be, there's going to be some violence breaking out on occasion. It's not exactly a time of peace, but it is going to be a little bit more calm than it was leading up to the Battle of the Bogside. This is going to bring us to Bloody Sunday, also known as the Bogside Massacre. Again, the Bogside plays a very large role in the Troubles. Bloody Sunday is kind of one of the culminating events and probably most famous events of the Troubles. It's going to take place January 3rd of 1972, which is going to be 50 years since partition. Okay, 1922 was when the Anglo-Irish War ended and Ireland was divided into a Northern Ireland and a Southern Ireland, ultimately becoming the Free State, and then the Republic. So it's going to be 50 years. There's going to be a celebration in this, and this is going to be seen really as kind of... This is just a really big deal when it comes to understanding the Troubles. Derry is going to be seen as a flashpoint of conflict throughout the entire situation. As you've probably already realized at this point, the name comes up frequently, and there is a reason for this. As I've talked about before, Derry is a Catholic majority city, which historically and always during this time period was controlled by the Unionists as a result of gerrymandering. Now, the infrastructure in Derry was weak. The university is in a smaller majority Protestant town versus being in the larger town of Derry that has a Catholic majority. They decided to build it outside. It's out of reach from the motorways, so it's harder to get to and harder to really be connected to the rest of Northern Ireland. And the housing in Derry is of a lower quality than you're going to find across the rest of Northern Ireland. It's going to be a major focus of the civil rights movement because a lot of the problems being protested by the Catholics during the civil rights movement were really seen and exemplified in Derry. So the situations we're talking about for housing, the situations with gerrymandering, these are the different things that are really prevalent across all of Northern Ireland, but they're particularly evident in Derry. So Derry is going to be this kind of flashpoint and the prime example that they were protesting against. Northern Ireland is going to introduce internment without trial August 7th, 1971, which is going to deeply upset the nationalist Catholics who are fighting against this idea, trying to fight for their civil rights and Catholic really equality with Protestants in Northern Ireland, some taking it further to try to have about unification of Ireland. But regardless, is this this internment without trial, is going to anger Catholics deeply, and tensions are going to simply increase and swell to a level that really has not been seen since the Battle of the Bogside. Now, the Northern Irish Prime Minister is going to ban all marches until the end of the year on January 18th in 1972. So 18 days into 1972, he has stepped out and said, no more marches until the end of the year. Obviously, this is not going to go over well with people who are trying to argue for a social movement, largely one that has been done through marches and in a country that has a deep history of marching. January 22nd, there's going to be a march against internment, so this whole ban on marches doesn't really go over very well. Paratroopers are going to be sent in to respond to this march. They're going to respond with an intense level of violence, really taking things up to a level that was not really even prevalent with the RUC. So they're going to take it to a further level. NICRA, again, another Catholic organization, is going to come about and they're going to establish a march on January 30th. They're going to be allowed to march, but only in the area of the Bogside. The paratroopers are going to be sent in as well to arrest anyone who is rioting. Okay, they were told go in and arrest rioters. Now, this is about a week after the previous incident, the January 22nd march, when the paratroopers came in with intense violence. So as you can imagine, NICRA and the supporters of the Catholic Civil Rights Movement or Catholic Civil Rights Association are really not going to be happy with the protesters being sent in. This is probably not the best idea to send in these individuals because they've kind of bloodied the nose, both literally and figuratively, of the nationalist movement in Northern Ireland, and this is just going to kind of increase the tension. Now, the day of the march is going to be rerouted towards the Free Derry corner. That image you saw on the cover and earlier, the march is going to be marching towards this direction. However, some of those marchers are going to break off and they're going to attack the paratroopers. The paratroopers are going to respond in a very violent way. Now, a lot of individuals who are partaking in this march have since, eyewitnesses, these primary sources, have responded by saying this was really a typical level of violence for this style of march in Northern Ireland at this time period. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. The response of the paratroopers was excessive. So you're going to get this kind of perspective coming on right through here. There was an abandoned building. Some paratroopers were in it. Marchers who are becoming violent at this period are going to throw rocks up there. The paratroopers are going to respond by shooting them. One of the individuals who was shot was when he was found was unarmed. They said that he was simply reaching in the air to throw something, and that was the reason he was shot. There was some conflicting information through there on what actually happened. Continuing to move forward, the paratroopers are going to then move in and start clearing out these barricades that had been established. Some are acting much more violent than they needed. There's a lot of tension again, and they're going to be responding, and they're clearing the barricades in a very, very violent nature. Paratroopers are going to begin to throw rocks, or the protesters, are going to throw rocks at the paratroopers. The paratroopers are going to be responding with bullets. This is going to be seen as deeply problematic, largely because the people who are throwing the rocks were too far away for the rocks to actually do any real damage to the paratroopers, and they're going to respond with gunfire and lethal force. Again, you can make an argument that this was somewhat justified because they were being thrown at and being assaulted, or there was an attempt of an assault. However, they were also far away and it wasn't actually going to hurt them and take their life. So you can make an argument whether or not that was actually justified. At this point, there's going to be indiscriminate shooting. There is some who have stated that the paratroopers are simply firing from the hip, just shooting guns kind of indiscriminately. Some are going to be hit as they run away. There's civilians shot. There's instances of individuals being shot and killed as they're responding with first aid to those who were shot, and it's really just not going over well. In the end, 26 are going to be shot, 14 are killed. All of the soldiers who shot someone during this incident are going to be stating that they were hitting their targets. Not a single person they were not aiming for was not hit, according to official British soldier and a paratrooper response at this time. This is going to lead to an increase in Irish nationalism, and it's going to allow the Provost, or the Provisional IRA, to recruit more men than they would have had this incident not happened. It really kind of turns the tide, motivates a lot of nationalists who previously would not have necessarily taken up arms to start standing and taking up arms. The Provost, as a result, are going to increase their campaign of violence. In 1972, there's going to be 1,300 bombings. In this, there's going to be 100 killed and 500 security forces wounded. So really, Bloody Sunday is going to come about and bring about more violence, more destruction as a result of this incident. So it's a very, very significant event in the Troubles and a very, very dark time for Northern Ireland. Now, we're going to go into Bloody Friday. A lot of blood going on in this one. July 21st, 1972. On this day, the Provost, Provisional IRA, are going to set off 22 car bombs in the city of Belfast. Now, in doing so, they're going to end up killing 5 civilians, 2 British soldiers, 1 RUC reservist, and a member of the UDA, another loyalist organization in Northern Ireland. These bombings are going to be happening throughout Northern Ireland, not just in Belfast, really as a kind of campaign by the IRA to set off the PIRA to really get people invested in their cause, to raise publicity, and to really try to bring about an end to this killing by the paratroopers and all the violence that comes with that. Comments, questions, put it down below. Otherwise, I'll see you later. Good luck.